Don't start.
No, I mean, I'm recording, but we're about to go live, just so everyone is on that same page here. So, and I'm going to let everybody in. Ms. Burbine, of course, I want you just to let everybody in. And assuming everyone is comfortable, ready? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. And everyone's coming in right now. You
All
see
right.
them.
Well, welcome all.
Wait a minute. Wait. Just let them get in. They're not in yet. They're connecting. They're
Seth.
There you go. Ms. Burbine, take it away.
All right. Thank you. Welcome all to the Scituate Planning Board, Thursday, January 28th, 2021. This is a Zoom meeting. If you would like to go to the website, Town of Scituate Planning Board, and you can log in there. Okay. So our first item is a continued public hearing, site plan review, and special permit for gas backwards building and one additional commercial space in the Village Center and Neighborhood District, Greenbush, Driftway, Gateway District, New Driftway, Transit Village Sub-District, VCN, GDG, ND TV-4852, New Driftway. So
we're just going to call the roll to make sure all the board members are here.
Yes, I am here.
Ms. Burbine is here. Ms. Lampert.
Here.
Mr. Bornstein.
Here.
Mr. Pritchard.
Present.
Ms. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. McLean. He's just logging in. I see him coming.
Okay.
We lost there, Bob.
He is now a co-host, so he can be able to.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. May we continue?
We may.
Thank you. All right. The applicant who is making the presentation, and tell us anything new that has been done to this application. Mr. Cutler, who is presenting for us?
I think Walter Sullivan and Halim Chuba will be doing the presentation.
Okay, if you could tell us what changes, if any, you have made.
Are you asking me?
Mr. Sullivan, you're a co-host, so you can unmute yourself.
Sure, I was actually going to refer to Hal Chuba to just talk about what new plans have been submitted. We do have a draft decision that we've worked on with the town planner, and I think we're pretty much in compliance with all the recommendations. Hal, I didn't know if you wanted to address what has been submitted since our last meeting.
Sure, I will. Madam Chair, good evening and thank you. Hal Chuba, consulting engineer. From the last meeting, we did submit a revised set of plans to Mr. Sheshia, and mainly to address some of the remaining comments on the stormwater, and there was also a few comments on the landscape, and I believe Mr. Sheshia is here, and he can concur with my statement that all the concerns that Mr. Sheshia had, including concerns from DPW and engineering and the fire, it's all addressed in the revised site plans and the stormwater documents. I believe there's a couple of minor changes that will have to be addressed on the plans prior that you endorse the plans. I don't think those changes, they're very minor. One has to do with the size of the oil water separator, and Mr. Sheshia has indicated that he recommends that we increase the size of one of the oil water separators, and we had no issue with doing that. And the second set of comments, they had to do with the storm water pollution prevention plan, and actually that's a construction document, so we would get that prior to construction. This should not prevent the board from voting tonight on this application. So, and also you have a report from the town planner. It's a pretty lengthy report, and it's very thorough. Thank you, Ms. Joseph, and thank you, Mr. Sheshia, for the thorough review. You do have a report of 32 pages that goes through details on every single aspect of the projects, and I believe in general you'll see that we are in compliance of what's required for granting a special permit tonight. So that's my presentation. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, let me bring it to Mr. Chesia. Would you comment, please?
Sure. I think that Hal actually summed it up pretty well. There's some recommended conditions, and I have read the draft that Karen prepared, and all of the recommended conditions that I had in my letter are included in that draft conditions. I don't know that it makes any sense to go through them because you will be going through them.
Yes, we will.
Point
All
by
32
point.
pages, yes.
Yes, so if you have a question during the time that you're going through that, that would be the time to ask rather than me to go over it now, I think would be the most
Okay.
efficient.
All right, and Karen, do you have anything further that you would like to add?
Just that at the last meeting, we talked about what the applicant would be willing to offer for mitigation. There's a center line striping in New Driftway that's going to be done. The sidewalk in front of their property is going to be a 10-foot wide sidewalk. That's a change. And then they have offered $25,000 for our traffic and pedestrian improvement fund in Greenbush. Is the board comfortable with that number for mitigation?
All right, Steve, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, Patty?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Ben?
I mean, it seems fair to me. I think obviously we don't really have any metrics to go by yet at this point. I think it sounds reasonable and fair, but maybe that's something that the board can discuss at a future point. Obviously not in relation to this application
Right.
is what we want to
Okay.
see there.
It's
All
very
right.
Specifically to Greenbush though, right?
Yes, yes. All right, Rebecca?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, and Bob?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, as am I. All right, so is there anything further from the board members in terms of the draft decision? Okay, I will start reading. We have 90 minutes. It should take me that long to read all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
But we're working off of the one you sent today, right?
The 12621 document.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
So the applicant should have the same document as the board.
Okay.
We do.
all right. Okay, special permit in the Village Center and Neighborhood District VCN and stormwater permit 48 to 52 New Driftway, draft 12621. I move to make the following findings of fact. On July 7, 2020, Petro Realty Corp. filed an application for a site plan review and special permit under Scituate zoning bylaw section 580 and section 750, and site plan review under Scituate zoning bylaw section 770. The application includes, but is not limited to, the following. The application: A, application form for site plan approval in the VCN, an application form for a special permit in the VCN, deed, purchase and sales agreement, proof of paid real estate taxes, and B, filing fees and a butters list. C, proposed gasoline filling station, convenience store, and restaurant/food service at 48-52 New Driftway, consisting of 16 sheets, including building elevations, canopy layout, elevations and details, and architectural renderings by Chuba Engineering Group PC, dated June 24, 2020. D, stormwater and fuel management and maintenance plan for the proposed gasoline filling station and convenience store restaurant food service at 48 and 52 New Driftway, Scituate, Mass, dated 6/23/2020. And E, transportation impact and access study, 4852 New Driftway, Scituate, Mass, by VHB, dated 7/21/2020. 2, the property that is the subject of the application is a 47,718 square foot parcel located on New Driftway, a public way in Scituate, Massachusetts, known as Assessor's Map block lot 53-3-9 and 53-3-10F, the property. The property is currently improved with a vacant retail commercial building, site utilities, existing bituminous concrete parking area with access from New Driftway, and disturbed undeveloped land area. 3, the zoning bylaw in effect for the application is the bylaw voted at the special town meeting on November 5, 2019, approved by the Attorney General on February 12, 2020, posted to the town website on February 18, 2020, and printed on February 26, 2020. 4, the property is in the New Village Center and Neighborhood VCN zoning district, Greenbush, Driftway, Gateway District, GDG, and the New Driftway Transit Village Subdistrict, NDTV, VCN, GDG, NDTV, otherwise known as alphabet soup.
Very
Okay. 5, the development proposed in the application herein after called the project consists of a gas backwards GB filling station with 5,500 square foot building for an associated convenience store, 4,000 square feet footprint, and restaurant food service space, 1,500 square footprint, plus additional basement storage and office space accessory to the convenience store. Additionally, there will be a 24-foot by 100-foot canopy over 8 fueling stations, 4 pumping stations with fueling on both sides. 28 parking spaces are proposed. A driveway is proposed on the property on the west side of the property. The driveway will have a dedicated ingress lane into the property separated by a 6-foot wide milled concrete island with a dedicated left and right turn lane for egress from the property. 6, 28 parking spaces are proposed. Parking is proposed per section 760.8 of the Scituate zoning bylaw with 1 space per 200 square feet of area, 20 spaces for the 4,000 square foot convenience store per table 1 space per 4 seats, 5 spaces is provided for 20 seat restaurant per table 1 with 1 space per 600 square feet, 2 spaces for the basement warehouse storage of 1,275 square feet, and 1 space per 300 square feet, 1 space for the office area of 120 square feet. These 28 spaces meet the off-street parking requirements per section 760.8 of the zoning bylaw. No shared parking, off-site parking, or stacked valet and or tandem parking are proposed. No shared driveways are proposed. Parking space design in accordance with section 760 include spaces that are 9 feet by 18 feet with at least 24 feet of backup space and paved parking in accordance with section 760.3. Section 760.4 requires 1 tree per 8 parking spaces located within 10 feet of the parking lot, which requirement is met with over 4 shade trees provided. At least 5% of the interior of the parking lot will be landscaped, which also minimally meets requirements. Parking must be located a minimum 5 feet behind the front facade, and the project meets this requirement. A street screen shall be required where parking is visible from a public street or sidewalk. There is minimal parking visible from the driftway. The planning board agrees to waive this provision. Okay. 7, the property does meet the requirements for a pedestrian frontage overlay zone per section 580.2 of the zoning bylaw. The ground floor areas are reserved for retail and restaurant uses with public access at the street. 8, in the VCN, GDG, NDTV, a gas backwards and general commercial building are allowed uses per section 580.3 of the zoning bylaw and allowed building types per section 750 of the zoning bylaw. According to section 580.3, D.2, the zoning enforcement officer, ZEO, can determine a new building type if a new building cannot be classified as one of the allowed building types. As the proposed gas backwards convenience store building has an additional 1,500 square feet for retail/restaurant space, the ZEO determined in a letter dated 6/29/20, revised on 1/25/21, that the building was an alternative building type that is subject to special permit approval. 9, the proposed use is not residential and therefore is not subject to VCN residential density by building type and district found in section 580.4, nor minimum dwelling unit sizes. 10, no public realm standards found in section 753 of the Scituate zoning bylaw are applicable as a new street is not being created. This is not a housing development, so no affordable housing requirements per section 754 of the Scituate zoning bylaw are required for this development. 11, Petro Realty Corp. Met with the Design Review Committee, DRC, and Planning Department staff to review whether the project meets the design review standards of section 580 and 750. Under Scituate zoning bylaw section 750, the 3-member design review committee is charged with making recommendations to the planning board on building and site design. Following discussions with DRC and planning staff, Petro Realty modified its original architectural plans to address compatibility of site features such as location of the restaurant with its gabled entry portico to be on the west side of the building and the convenience store to the east, added additional glazing and adjusted the roof line and location of the mechanical equipment to be more favorable. A patio on the west side provides some of the public amenity space required by the bylaw and adds to the neighborhood feel required in the subdistrict. Additional glazing was added to bring the structure to the 50% requirement, and the hip roof has been changed to a ridge and mechanical equipment relocated to the ground level while adding gabled entries into new driftway. Based on the changes and as shown on the updated architectural plans and renderings dated 9/10/20, the project meets the design review standards of section 580 and 750. See below. 12, general design standards are required for all commercial buildings to preserve and enhance the aesthetic quality of Scituate's built environment and to conserve the value of its land and buildings. Section 750.5 provides general standards for commercial buildings and developments. If, in the opinion of the planning board, deviations from the guidelines contained would improve the overall design of the project, the guidelines may be waived. The board review of these general design standards find: A, the scale of the building is visually compatible with its site and neighborhood, 750.5A. B, more than one principal building is allowed on a lot if the building lot dimensions are met for each building individually. Not applicable as one building is proposed, 750.5B.2. C, the building placement meets or exceeds all the setbacks, 750.5B.3 and 4. D, the building meets the setback standards of a maximum of 25 feet for 0 to 25 feet from the right-of-way line, 750.5D. E, building articulation standards have been met with buildings greater than 50 feet in width designed to read as a series of smaller buildings with varied articulation. The street facing width is wider than 100 feet, as there is an alternative building type approved by the ZEO and a special permit is being obtained, 750.5E. F, horizontal modulation and articulation is not required as the building is less than 3 stories, 750.5E. G, facade transparency is required for commercial buildings. Windows shall be evenly spaced along the facade. Windows shall be low reflective reflectivity glass. The facade glazing shall fall between 2 and 12 feet. The project meets this requirement with window spacing, facade glazing occurring between 2 and 12 feet, with greater than 50% of the wall facing the driftway as glazed. Low reflective glass is proposed. H, the roof pitches meet the criteria of 6 to 12 minimum and 12 to 12 maximum, with the main portion of the roof at 7 to 12 and gables at 9 to 12 for the asphalt shingle gable roof. I, exterior treatments will be provided. Exterior treatments will be a synthetic material intended to provide the look and character of traditional building materials, i.e. cedar shakes. The windows will be operable. Architectural elements are continued from the front to the side. The proposed building has textures and patterns. 12A, GB includes lot standards found in section 750.6. The board's review of these standards find: A minimum lot size is not required. 47,718 square feet is provided. B, street frontage of 100 feet is required. There are over 100 feet frontage on New Driftway with 230.78 feet provided. C, a minimum lot depth of 100 feet is required. 240.8 foot plus or minus is provided. D, the front yard build 2-zone setback is 5 foot minimum and 20 foot maximum. 11 feet is provided on New Driftway. E, minimum side yard is 20 feet, 23.4 feet is provided. F, minimum rear yard is 20 feet. 44 feet is provided to the canopy. G, outdoor amenity space coverage required is 10% of the lot. This equates to 4,771.8 square feet. The plans indicate 10% is provided. The permitted outdoor amenity space per section 752 of the bylaw is an outdoor dining terrace, POPS, of approximately 1,740 square feet with 5 benches and outdoor tables and a pocket park, POPS, with 1,800 square feet of lawn, 4 shade trees and 4 benches and a common yard and garden, PS. The common yard is not intended for public access or a high level of pedestrian activity and will have some lawn with a planted buffer. The requirement is met. H, the building height will conform to the height regulation set forth for a GB at 1.5 stories or 24 feet, which is measured vertically from the average finished grade on the ground to the average height of between the eaves and the ridge for gable, hip, and gabled roofs, gambrel roofs. I, the minimum street facing wall width is 40 feet and the maximum is 80 feet. 80 feet scaled from plan has been provided along New Driftway for the gas backwards convenience store of the building. J, a street facing entrance is required. 2 are located on New Driftway. K, a maximum building footprint for gas backwards building is 4,000 square foot. The gas backwards building footprint is 4,000 square feet. L, gas station canopies should be designed as an integral part of the gas station architecture whenever possible. The proposed canopy has been designed with a hip roof over the proposed pumps and island. The canopy will have the same Oxford gray architectural roof shingles as the building. The canopy lighting is recessed from the bottom of the fascia. The canopy meets all the building setbacks and at its closest point to the property line is 44 feet. The secondary entrance is required for the rear for access to the pumps. 1 egress lane and 2 ingress lane and 2 egress lanes have been provided, separated by a 6-foot wide milled concrete rumble strip. Petro Realty was not able to gain approval to have second ingress on an adjacent property. Ingress egress has been peer reviewed by Jeffrey S. Dirk of Vaness and Associates, Inc., who has found the design acceptable as conditioned. The board agrees to waive the secondary access to the rear. 14, in a letter dated June 29, 2020, revised January 25th, 2021, the zoning enforcement officer has determined that the proposed building is a new building type as it cannot be totally classified as a gas backwards due to the one additional 1,500 square feet of commercial space intended as retail restaurant space. The proposed building falls within the requirements of a commercial building, except that it is 100 feet in width facing the street. 80 feet is required for the gas backwards / convenience store, and 30 additional feet are required for the commercial component the retail restaurant. As the site can accommodate this width, the planning board finds that the street facing width of 110 feet is reasonable for this alternative building type, and there are no exact standards for it. The planning board finds an additional 1,500 square feet of ground floor area is reasonable for the added commercial use and does not degrade from the intent of the bylaw. 15, the building frontage zone is the private setback area between the street facing facade of the building and the public right-of-way or street line. The zone must provide a compatible transition and interface between the private realm and the public realm. The publicly oriented space at the front of the proposed building facing New Driftway, consisting of a walk and outdoor dining terrace, is oriented to the public way and public sidewalk and meets the bylaw, section 750.7. 16, development site standards in accordance with section 750.8 have been reviewed, and the board finds: A, the development site consists of one building. B, the development site does not include any existing or proposed right-of-way. C, a gas backwards and alternative building type of commercial building spaces are permitted building types in this district. D, a minimum of 50 feet of frontage on a public or publicly accessible street providing access to the development is provided. E, development block standards are not applicable. F, site landscaping is provided. There are minimal existing trees on site and they will be preserved. Landscaping is proposed that will be maintained in a healthy growing condition, free of refuse and debris. The plantings will be arranged to not obstruct the vision of traffic. G, new public utilities are proposed to be installed as underground utilities. Underground storage tanks are proposed for fuel. H, trash storage areas not viewable from the driftway. The dumpsters are screened with a dumpster enclosure. 17, sustainable site design is required in the VCN district per section 751 of the zoning bylaw. Stormwater management shall conform to best management practices described in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Stormwater Management Handbook. Pre-development hydrology is maintained by infiltrating, storing, and detaining stormwater in underground leaching chambers. The post-continuous peak rate and volume of runoff is not exceeded for the 1, 2, 10, 25, and 100-year 24-hour rain events. Stormwater best management practices are required. Minimization of impervious surfaces is provided by providing only the required parking. Subsurface retention facilities have been provided. Pervious concrete pavement is proposed for the front walk, and pervious pavement is shown for the mechanical equipment area and patio. The pervious pavement meets DEP requirements. Front yards shall not include impervious surfaces except for a driveway. Walkways are paved outdoor patio, which shall constitute no more than 25% of the front yard unless they are pervious. The plan meets this requirement. 18, a landscape plan is required for all submissions except where waived by the planning board. To the greatest extent possible, native plants shall be maintained and no plants listed as invasive or prohibited by Massachusetts shall be used. Existing invasive plants shall be removed. A landscape plan has been provided. Native landscaping is reasonably proposed. A note requiring removal of invasive plant material prior to commencement of plant bed construction is on the plans. Lawn area in the front yard is minimized and fertilizer use is discouraged. The front yard contains a pervious concrete walk with the minimum of 25% of the front yard being pervious. This requirement has been met. 19, Scituate zoning bylaw section 770.6 sets forth the standard of review for approval of proposed site plans which are required for proposed developments, which are the size that may have significant impacts on neighborhoods. A gas backwards plus one commercial space requires a site plan review by the planning board. 20, section 770.6 A, site plan approval standard A, protection of adjoining premises against detrimental and offensive methods of utilizing the site. Finding, the site is currently a vacant commercial building with existing sewer and water connections. The proposed use will be a gas backwards facility with a convenience store, canopy covering the 8 proposed fuel stations, 4 pumps with fueling on both sides, and restaurant, all of which are commercial uses. The redevelopment of the site will provide commercial uses as in the existing conditions. As depicted in the plans, the site work, drainage infrastructure, sewer connections, site plans, landscape plans, the project represents a significant improvement of the site and benefit to the neighborhood and abutting properties. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood and will improve it, will not be an undue nuisance to vehicles or pedestrians because of the proposed use or structure, and is designed with adequate and appropriate facilities to assure the proper operation of the project and minimize any impacts to the neighborhood and abutting properties. The abutting uses to the north include MBTA train station, to the east, a medical office facility, to the south, a commercial site, and to the west, a commercial site and a small park owned by the town of Scituate. Accordingly, the project meets the requirements of section 770.6A. 21, section 770.6B, site plan approval standard B, traffic safety and ease of access at street and highway entrances and exits of driveways, taking account of traffic volume, grades, site distances, and distances between such driveway entrances, exits, and the nearest existing street or highway intersections and times of peak traffic flow. Finding, Petro Realty Corporation engaged VHB to prepare a traffic impact and access study. The board, through its engineering peer review consultant, Chesia Consulting Services, LLC, engaged Vaness and Associates, Inc., VAI, to evaluate the adequacy and accuracy of VHB's methodology, data, findings, and conclusions. VAI submitted detailed written comments to the planning board. In response to these comments, Petro Realty Corp. And VHB provided responses, revised reports where requested, and updated site plans. After further review by VAI, Petro Realty Corporation was determined to have adequately addressed VAI's comments and recommendations. The board determines that the project as conditioned provides for traffic safety and eases of access at the street and access driveways, meets or exceeds all AASHTO standards for site distance, and will not create any undue congestion in the streets and ways abutting the proposed project or in intersections within relevant proximity to the proposed project. Driveways within 100 feet of the site have not all been shown. This standard is met. 22, section 770.6B, site plan approval standard C, safety and adequacy of driveway layout, pedestrian safety, off-street parking, and loading sites, minimizing glare from headlights and light intrusion, sufficiency of access for service vehicles such as electricity, gas, fuel, telephone, laundry, rubbish removal, water, sewer, fire, police, ambulance, or other routine or emergency vehicles. Finding. The board finds the project has a safe and convenient driveway layout, makes adequate provisions for pedestrian safety and off-street parking, which meets the Scituate zoning bylaw. Access will be from New Driftway. The main access off the New Driftway is 38 feet wide. The project will have sufficient access for service vehicles, fuel delivery trucks, and emergency vehicle access. Section 23, Section 770.6D, Site Plan Approval Standard D. Adequacy of the methods of disposal for sewage, refuse, and other wastes resulting from the use is permitted on the site, safety and adequacy of water supply and distribution, and of firefighting facilities on the site. Finding. The board finds that there are adequate waste disposal facilities that are accessible for the development, and that wastewater will be connected to the municipal sewer system. The existing water service to the site will be terminated. 2 new water services will be installed, one for the gas station, convenience store, and one for the restaurant. 24. Section 770.6E, Site Plan Approval Standard E, Adequacy of surface and stormwater drainage and snow melt runoff within and from site, including but not limited to all walkways, driveways, buildings, parking, and loading areas. Finding. The board finds that the project site plans show snow storage areas and as conditioned will not present any significant concerns arising from or relating to snow storage. Petro Realty Corporation engaged Chuba Engineering Group PC, CEG, a professional engineering firm, to prepare a stormwater report and maintenance plan to demonstrate that the project will meet state and local standards for the collection, treatment, and disposal of stormwater. A subsurface infiltration area is proposed for site stormwater. The board engaged Chesia Consulting Services, LLC, Chesia, to evaluate the adequacy and accuracy of CEG's report and data, as well as the efficacy and adequacy of the design. Chesia submitted detailed written comments to the planning board. In response to these comments, the applicant and CEG provided responses, revised reports were requested, and updated the site plans. After further review by Chesia, Petro Realty Corporation was determined to have adequately addressed Chesia's comments and recommendations if the stormwater management system is built as designed. Petro Realty Corporation has submitted a stormwater management plan and erosion sedimentation control plan that ensures that the project will be managed appropriately before, during, and after the completion of construction. The review of the stormwater management system by the planning board's consulting engineer and their approval of the special permit eliminates the requirement for a special stormwater permit under the Stormwater General Bylaw and its regulations for any work that conforms to the plans. Hallam A. Chuba PE has certified that the drainage system can be expected to result in post-development runoff characteristics, including peak flow, total volume of runoff, and water quality runoff to be equal or less than pre-development runoff characteristics. This requirement is met. 25. Section 770.6F, Site Plan Approvals, Standard F. Finding not applicable as the site is not in the Water Resource Protection District. 26. Section 770.6G, Site Plan Approval, Standard G. Minimizing volume of cut and fill, the number of trees of 6-inch caliber or greater removed, the length of stone walls removed, soil erosion, and destruction of other natural features. Finding. The property is a 47,718 square foot and has an existing vacant building and on it and is largely devoid of vegetation. We need to eliminate
Yep.
devoid of vegetation. Minimal cut and fill is proposed as the front part of the site for the building there is a wall on the southwest side of the site varying height from 1.5 feet to approximately 6 feet, as it is accommodating the grade change to the west. No trees greater than 6-inch caliber are to be removed. The proposed landscaping at the perimeter of the site will be added to the character of the open space with trees and landscaping that is an improvement over existing conditions. 27, section 770.6H, site plan approval standard H. Minimize obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations. Finding, the property does not consist of any scenic views from publicly accessible locations, and therefore the project complies with this requirement. 28, section 770.6.I, site plan approval standard I. Parking areas shall be adequately buffered and shaded using native vegetation. Parking lots with 10 or more spaces shall be planted with at least one shade tree per 10 spaces of a caliber of at least 2.5 inches DBH, with each tree providing shade to the parking area. Parking areas and visually degrading elements such as dumpsters and loading docks shall be designed to minimize visual intrusion from public ways and residential owned or zoned areas. In addition, suitable screening of such areas by wood fences and dense native evergreen hedges of 5 feet or more at time of planting shall be utilized. The use of chain link fences shall be avoided except in industrial areas. Outdoor lighting, including lighting on the exterior of a building or lighting in parking areas, shall be arranged to minimize glare and light spillover to neighboring properties. No outdoor light shall be located more than 20 feet above the ground. Finding, the board finds that the parking areas for the project will be buffered and shaded using predominantly native vegetation. Landscaping at the property perimeters helps screen the parking from abutting properties, thereby meeting the requirements of the bylaw. The dumpster will be enclosed and minimally visible from new driveway. Outdoor lighting has been designed to minimize glare and spillover at adjacent properties. No outdoor lights shall be located more than 20 feet above the ground. All lights will be LED. 29. Section 770.6J, site plan approval. Standard J, safe, functional, and convenient pedestrian, bicycle, and where practical, transit access and continuity of the pedestrian and bicycle network within the property and to nearby pedestrian and bicycle facilities and trip generators. Finding, the board finds that there is safe, functional, and convenient on-site and off-site pedestrian and bicycle access to the project, meeting the requirements of the bylaw. A 10-foot sidewalk is provided in the new driftway right-of-way to facilitate pedestrian and bicycle access and meets multi-use path dimensions. 3 bike racks are provided for the project site. Based on these findings, the planning board finds that the site plan review and Village Center and Neighborhood District special permit meets the requirements under the Village Center and Neighborhood District section 580 and 750, as the project will be in harmony with the general purposes of this bylaw and the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, and will not have a greater detrimental impact on the neighborhood than a conventional commercial development plan, and is designed with consideration for health and safety. Excuse me for 1 minute.
I think we're at the end. We should, this is the finding of fact, right?
This is
That's the end of findings of fact.
That's the end of finding of facts. Okay, now we go for the decision.
No, wait a
Nope,
minute.
you gotta
Wait.
do,
Vote on the findings of fact, Dan.
yep,
You.
that's what we said, yes.
All right, all those,
Well, wait a minute,
Right.
wait a minute. Going back, I found just a couple clarifications that need to be made, a couple of things. I mean, I'll correct a couple word places here and there, but on section number 22, 770.6, it says B, site plan approval C, that should be C. And under number 23, section 770.6D, under the finding, a separate fire protection line is provided with a hydrant. That really should be added in there. Because there's two new water service lines and the separate fire protection line, which is exactly what the fire department wanted.
Okay,
We have to add that sentence.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
okay, is that it, Karen?
Yep, that's good enough.
Okay,
So I second as amended.
all those in favor?
Ms. Burbine,
Yes,
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein,
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard,
Yes,
Ms. Lewis,
she might be on mute.
she's,
Yep.
there she goes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think unanimous, all in favor of for findings of fact.
okay. Now the decision.
Correct.
Based on the findings of fact and testimony provided at the public hearing, I move that the planning board approves the site plan review and special permit in the Village Center and Neighborhood District for 4852 New Driftway on January 28th, 2021, with the following conditions. General requirements. 1, all construction work shall be done in accordance with the plan submitted by Chuba Engineering Group, PC, entitled Proposed Gasoline Filling Station, Convenience Store and Restaurant, Food Service at 48 to 52 New Driftway, Scituate, Mass., consisting of 13 sheets dated 6/23/20, with revisions of 7/24/20, 9/8/2020, 11/3/20, 11/3/20 received, 11/30/20, 12/31/20, and any additional revisions needed to conform to the conditions contained herein the VCN special permit. Architectural plans by Phase 0 Design consisting of sheet A-101 floor plans dated 9/10/20 with revisions through 11/18/2020. Sheet A-201 exterior elevations 9/10/20 with revisions through 11/23/20. A-202 3D views dated 9/10/20 with revisions through 11/18/20. A-203 building signage dated 11/18/20. A-204 site pylon sign 11/19/20. 3, landscape plan L-1.0 dated 11/10/20 with revisions through 11/23/2020 by Sean Payak Landscape Architecture. 4, existing conditions by Farland Corporation dated 9/29/20 with revisions through 9/23/2020. Stormwater report and maintenance plan for proposed gasoline fill station and convenience store restaurant food service at 48 and 52 New Driftway, dated 6/23/2020, revised 7/24/20 and 9/8/20 with TSS and pipe flow calculations dated 11/9/2020. 6, transportation impact and access study by VHB dated 7/21/20 with supplemental traffic engineer peer review by VHB dated 9/10/20. 7, stormwater pollution prevention plan dated November 9, 2020 by CEG, and any additional revisions needed to conform to the conditions contained therein. Building elevations must be approved by the town planner prior to issuance of a building permit for conformance to submitted material. 2, where this is a site plan review and VCN special permit requires approval, permitting, or licensing from any local, state, or federal agency, such required approval, permitting, or licensing is deemed a condition of the Town of Scituate Planning Boards, the Planning Board or the Board, approval of the site plan review and VCN special permit, including but not limited to approval of work by the Select Board and Department of Public Works, DPW, in all public rights of way, including New Driftway. Construction shall meet all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, including but not limited to those of the Scituate DPW, Fire Department, Building Department, Board of Health, Select Board, Conservation Commission, Planning Board, as well as Massachusetts DEP and State Building Code. All necessary permits and approvals must be received prior to construction. 3, construction shall meet all requirements of the Scituate zoning bylaw. All conditions of approval shall be inscribed on the site plan review and VCN special permit plans prior to endorsement. 4, the applicant shall mean the current applicant, Petro Realty Corporation, and its successors in interest. This special permit shall lapse within 2 years, which shall not include such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal under General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 17, from the grant thereof, if a substantial use thereof is not sooner commenced except for good cause, or in the case of a special permit for construction, if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause. The planning board may extend said period for good cause shown upon receiving a written request from the applicant prior to the expiration of said period, which request shall provide a detailed description of the good cause necessitating an extension. A public hearing may be required. 5, the applicant shall obtain the plan endorsement of the planning board for the site plan review and VCN special permit within 90 days of the expiration of the appeal period, and this decision becoming final. The existing conditions plan and landscape plan shall be part of the full set along with the conditions sheet. Any plan changes resulting from conditions of approval must be included in the plans prior to endorsement. 6, the sale, delivery, and distribution of petroleum products at the premises shall be done in substantial accordance with the plans submitted by the applicant and representations made by the applicant at the public hearing sessions. Hours of operation, number 7, shall not exceed 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily. 8, in accordance with Section 320.10 of the Scituate General Bylaws, no gasoline shall be dispensed in or upon the licensed premises by means of self-service dispensing systems unless during the hours when open for business there shall be on duty at all times no fewer than 1 person, owner or operator or employee for each 4 dispensing hoses. Where traffic conditions so warrant, each license heretofore or hereafter issued under provisions of General Laws, Chapter 148, Section 13, shall be subject to reasonable traffic control requirements as set forth by the Board of Selectmen after a full evaluation concerning such traffic conditions. 9, consistent with the Scituate General Bylaws, Section 32010, at all times there shall be 2 employees for the gas station at a time. Each employee shall be trained and available to pump fuel for patrons. Each employee shall be trained in disabling the fuel pumps. 10, the applicant shall submit an approval not required A&R plan prior to endorsement to combine the 2 lots of 48 and 52 New Driftway. 11, the following items are to be submitted or added to the plans prior to endorsement. Locations of project construction, parking, stockpiles, dumpsters, and trailers. Crosswalks and ADA acceptable handicap ramps for the sidewalk in the new Driftway layout. The sidewalk in the new Driftway layout is to be changed from bituminous concrete to concrete. Note 14 on the cover sheet shall be removed as there is a basement. On sheet 3 of 13, subsurface infiltration chamber notes, sun surface shall be changed to subsurface. The contours should be adjusted slightly in the southeast to provide cover over the infiltration system, and an EL25 contour was left out between the island and the southwest corner of the building to the 25 contour at the curb line west of the drive. 1 additional 3-inch caliper red maple shall be added to the plans along the street frontage to comply with the street tree requirement. Utilities, parking, traffic, and street improvements. 12, maintenance and repair of the driveway and parking areas, stormwater management, snow removal, lighting, and landscaping shall be the responsibility of the applicant. 13, all parking is limited to designated spaces as shown on the plan. 14, no new underground irrigation system shall be allowed to connect to the town's water distribution system or in any manner use municipal water in accordance with the policy made effective by the Board of Selectmen on October 8th, 2014, and reaffirmed by the Scituate Water Commissioners on May 26, 2015. All irrigation systems installed in accordance with the policy must be supplied by on-site sources or private water suppliers at the expense of the property owner. 15, the applicant shall consent to allow members and town officials of the planning board and other persons acting under authority of the planning board as its agents to enter upon any lands and carry out such surveys and inspections as may be deemed necessary and place and maintain monuments and marks. The applicant shall cooperate with the planning board and town officials and assist them in their efforts to verify the layout, design, and construction work in the special permit are satisfactory and conform to the town specifications and requirements of the planning board. 16, an independent inspector contracted or employed through the town shall perform the required construction inspections according to section 9.0 of the subdivision regulations. All required inspections shall take place and be inspected by the inspector, including water and sanitary sewage facilities. The inspector shall be approved by the town planner and DPW and shall work under the direction of the town planner. Written reports shall be submitted to the applicant and planning board in a timely manner, stating results of all required inspections during construction unless more frequent reports are needed. Noise, dust, air quality control shall be in accordance with DEP regulations. 17, construction of the driveways, walkways, patio, and parking areas, drainage system, water system, and sewer system shall be supervised by a registered professional engineer. Said supervising engineer shall be certified in writing to the planning board and DPW at completion that the driveways, walkways, patio, and parking areas, drainage system, water system, and sewer system were constructed in accordance with the approved plans and that said systems are functioning in full accordance with the approved design. The certification of the driveways, walkways, patio, parking areas, and utilities shall be accompanied by as-built plans signed and stamped by a professional land surveyor and the supervising registered professional engineer. Prior to issuance of an occupancy permit for the building, a registered professional engineer shall inspect the exterior of each building as necessary and certify to the planning board and building commissioner with his signature and stamp on an as-built plan that the grading and stormwater management systems conforms to that shown on the proposed gasoline filling station, convenience store, and restaurant / food service plans for 48 through 52 New Driftway and are functioning in accordance with design requirements, and any variation in grade is immaterial and does not materially alter the performance of the stormwater system. The site development as built, including building structures, topography, roadways, water, sewer, gas, cable, fiber optic, electrical, and storm drainage infrastructure shall be submitted in AutoCAD format 2013 or higher, or ESRI interchange format, registered to the Massachusetts State Plane Mainland Coordinates North American datum of 1983, compatible with the town system, along with stamped and signed copies of said plans. 18, all materials for utility construction shall meet DPW construction standards. 19, a street opening permit will be required for each individual utility connection. 20, a determination of adequacy of the existing water service fire flow for the project's use will be provided by the applicant to the DPW and town planner for their approval prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference. Installation of all water mains and appurtenances shall be performed according to the specifications of the DPW. Any requirement Any required upgrades, modifications, or connections shall be at the applicant's expense. The Water Division requires the following: existing water service to be terminated at the water main and the old pipe cut and capped. 2 new water services will need to be installed, one for the gas station / convenience store and one for the restaurant. If needed, install appropriate backflow device after each water meter. Service lines will need to be inspected by the Water Division. The existing account will be used for one of 2 service lines to feed the 2 units. A $14,000 connection fee is required for the additional service. A service line size to be determined by owner or engineer. Prior to construction, confirmation with the Scituate Water Department shall be made prior to connection to the existing water main. Alternatives may be available to connect to a newer, larger pipe in New Driftway. 21, the applicant shall obtain all necessary approvals for the use of town sewer prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference and any construction commencing. Any required upgrades, modifications, or connections shall be at the applicant's expense. Installation of all sewer mains and appurtenances shall be performed according to the specifications of the DPW Sewer Division. Copies of all necessary approvals shall be furnished to the town planner by the applicant. 22, all replacement of or connection to town sewer drainage and the installation of water mains and appurtenances shall be performed according to the specifications of the Scituate DPW with an independent inspector contracted or employed by the town to review the construction activity and assure compliance with the town's rules and regulations. DPW personnel must be in attendance for any sewer drainage and water infrastructure and appurtenance work in the town rights of way and on the property. In addition, the following must be addressed to the satisfaction of the town sewer division prior to the commencement of construction. Newly constructed manholes shall be furnished with watertight covers and frames bolted down with a gasket. Newly constructed manhole structures shall be vacuum tested, paid for by the applicant. The test must also be witnessed by the sewer division and or by the town's approved independent inspector. Newly constructed sewer lines must be pressure tested in accordance with the town test standards and the test must be witnessed by the sewer division and or by the town's approved independent inspector. A street opening permit for the sewer line shall be obtained. Police details, if required for traffic management and safety, shall be provided through the Scituate Police Department and shall be the responsibility of the contractor. Sewer permits are required for the building. Any building with a sewer unit that hasn't received a betterment will owe a $16,000 connection fee per sewer unit. External cleanouts and viewports. Each building line shall have an external cleanout. The privately constructed sewer infrastructure will be owned and shall always be maintained by the applicant. The sewer line from the property line is owned by the property owner. The final as-built shall include all utility locations with rims and inverts, pipe sizes, and materials. A spill plan or an SPCC is required. The building, 23, the building, parking, walkway, curb cuts, and required signage shall meet all applicable requirements of the ADA, MAAB, and Scituate Commission on Disabilities, if applicable. 24, the double yellow center line from the nose of the flush island to a point opposite the nose of the landscape island at the west end of the row of parking along the front of the building shall be permanently maintained. 25, the applicant is encouraged to reduce the width of the flush island at the site access to 4 feet. It is currently 6 feet. Any changes should be done prior to endorsement. The applicant is also encouraged to extend the landscape buffer along the west property line such that the nose of the curb line is parallel to the curb line along the south side of New Driftway and include a sidewalk with American with Disabilities Act ADA compliant wheelchair ramps within the extended area. ADA and DPW compliant wheelchair ramps are required at all sidewalk entry points along New Driftway and where necessary within the site. The applicant shall restripe New Driftway between the left turn lane that services the Dunkin' Donuts restaurant and the eastbound left turn lane at the New Driftway, Old Driftway intersection to serve as a center turning lane. This modification will facilitate left turn movements entering and exiting the property site and the existing commercial driveways along this segment of New Driftway, providing an overall benefit to traffic flow along New Driftway. The conceptual striping plan TWLTL by VHB dated 9/8/2020 is attached to this decision. This shall be coordinated with the town planner and town engineer, DPW engineering prior to implementation. 27, crosswalk patterns and handicap ramps for the sidewalk in New Driftway are to be provided with placement determined in the field during construction with approval from DPW and the town planner. All new or repaired curb ramps located on and off-site shall meet ADA requirements. 28, the vertical granite curbing from the existing sidewalk to be removed in the New Driftway right-of-way shall be reused for the 10-foot wide walk or new granite curb shall be installed. If the existing granite curb is not reused, it shall be returned to the town of Scituate at 280 Driftway with notification provided to the town planner and town engineer. The applicant shall implement and maintain a transportation demand management TDM plan consisting of the following elements. A transportation coordinator should be assigned for the project to coordinate with the TDM program. Information regarding commuting options should be posted in a central location and or otherwise made available to employees, and specific amenities should be provided to discourage off-site trips, including providing a break room equipped with a microwave and refrigerator, offering a direct deposit of paychecks, coordinating with dry cleaning service for on-site pickup and delivery, and other such measures to reduce overall traffic volumes and travel during peak traffic volume periods. 30, all signs and pavement markings to be installed shall conform to the applicable specifications of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD. All pavement markings in the public way shall be thermoplastic. A final sign and pavement marking plan shall be provided to the town for review and approved by the town planner prior to the issuance of the first building permit. 31, loading and delivering activities shall be coordinated by the applicant and shall be limited to off-peak periods. In no instance shall the staging of delivery vehicles block the site driveways or traveled way or impede pedestrian or bicycle travel without prior approval of the Scituate Police Department. 32, fuel delivery shall be scheduled while the site is closed to customers or during off-peak hours, preferably after 6 p.m. and before 6 a.m. The westernmost fueling position shall be closed to customers prior to the arrival of the fuel truck. This may be accomplished by placing traffic cones at the fuel position. Fuel dispensers shall not be able to dispense fuel during fuel deliveries. 33, all work shall conform to the American Petroleum Institute, API, standards in addition to local, state, and federal regulations. 34, the owner shall comply with all federal, state, and local regulations pertaining to fuel operation and reconciliation and site safety. 35, vertical clearance of the fuel pump canopy must be maintained at a minimum of 13 feet 8 inches for fire department access. 36, the sprinkler system for the premises, specifically the area where the petroleum products will be sold, delivered, and dispersed, will be matched to the uses. 37, the applicant must notify the Scituate Fire Department safety officer regarding the use and storage of all flammable and volatile materials to be used on the premises. 38, Floor drain and stormwater discharges that may contain waste are not allowed to be discharged into the stormwater system, shall be collected and disposed of in accordance with DEP regulations and other federal, state, and local requirements. 39, spill control measures such as spill pads and brooms shall be located on site as preventative measures for petroleum spills. The spill prevention and containment plan must be followed. 40, the fire alarm and suppression system and hydrant locations must be approved by the fire department. The underground fuel storage tanks shall be permitted by the Board of Selectmen. 2 underground double wall tanks shall be provided with interior monitoring. The number of diesel pumps is limited to 1. The 42, the applicant shall ensure that signs, landscaping, and other features located within the site triangle areas of the project site driveways and intersection of the new driftway are designed and installed and maintained so as not to impede lines of sight 2.5 feet in height. A note has been included on the plans. 43, the applicant shall ensure that the property manager promptly removes snow, windrows located within the site triangle areas of the project site driveway intersections with new driftway that exceed 3.5 feet in height or that would otherwise inhibit sight lines. A note has been included on the plans. 44, controlled density fill will be required for excavations within new driftway, including all utility trenches. 45, no driveway through service or windows shall be permitted. No drive-through service or windows shall be permitted for the restaurant now or in the future without further written approval by the planning board. 46, minimum snow storage is allowed. If snow will be removed from the site, it must follow all federal, state, and local laws. The applicant shall ensure all maintenance personnel are informed of this condition. 47, solid waste shall be stored in covered dumpsters in the dumpster enclosures located and showed on the site plan. Trash shall be emptied at least once a week or more frequently if necessary or as otherwise directed by the Board of Health. Automotive liquids shall be legally disposed of. Care shall be taken to prevent automotive liquids from spilling onto the surface of the ground. All dumpster enclosure locations shall allow for easy movement of trucks with minimal pedestrian conflicts. The dumpster area shall be enclosed on 4 sides. 48, all electrical, telephone, cable, and similar utilities shall be located underground. 49, except for the town-owned segments of the sewer and water line from the property line outward, all utilities, including the stormwater drainage system, shall be maintained by the applicant according to the operation and maintenance manual for the stormwater drainage system dated 11/9/2020 by CEG PC. 50, the applicant has agreed to provide a sum of $25,000 to fund municipal off-site traffic pedestrian improvements in the greater Greenbush area. The applicant shall provide such funds to the town prior to construction commencing. The fund shall be placed in an interest-bearing account with the expenditure of funds for this said purpose approved by the town administrator after consultation with the town planner, director of planning and development, DPW director, and approval of the planning board, all of whom must concur. 51, the site will include 2 electric vehicle charging stations with necessary infrastructure. Final location to be approved by the town planner in consultation with the applicant. 52, a larger oil grit separator shall be installed for catch basins 1 and 2, which has a first compartment sized in accordance with the DEP handbook for overall volume. The details should include the overall and internal width of the tanks. Environmental conditions, noise and dust. 53, site noise level shall conform to the Mass DEP Division of Air Quality Control's noise policy. A baseline condition is advised to be taken and submitted to the town planner prior to the commencement of any construction activities. 54, the applicant shall follow all regulations under the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection 310 CMR 7.00, Air pollution control 7.01, general regulations to prevent air pollution, and 310 CMR 7.09, dust, odor, construction, and demolition. Per 310 CMR 7. Water must be used to prevent excessive emission of particular matter throughout the construction project. 55, any speakers located near the fuel pumps must not play music or advertising. Landscaping and site amenities. 56, the applicant shall obtain the approval of the planning board for any material changes to the approved plans. The town planner or the board's inspector shall have the right to approve minor changes or deviations from the approved plans and or details needed for lighting, signage, paving materials, fencing, or landscaping. Material selection shall be provided to the town planner for review for conformance to approved plans prior to installation. 57, invasive plant species shall be removed from the site. The applicant shall coordinate with the town to determine invasive varieties and methods of removal. 58, the proposed meadow habitat restoration area shall be installed and maintained by a qualified contractor with demonstrated experience in the methods and best practices for establishing this type of landscape feature restoration. The most meadow installations have a 3 to 5 year establishment period with specified maintenance schedule to be successful. The installation maintenance protocol should be determined by site conditions and follow the protocol specified by the seed supplier or other credible organization. Example, Agricultural Extension Service, Horticultural Landscape Association, Ecological Restoration Association, etc. The meadow installation maintenance plan should be included as a note on the landscape plan prior to endorsement. It should be noted that the meadow should only be mowed when specified in the installation maintenance plan. 59, the retaining wall on site must meet state building code and town of Scituate requirements. A building permit will be required for the wall as it is over 4 feet tall, and a fence may be required on top of the wall. 60, bollards at the building spaces should be located to prevent a vehicle from entering the building. Bollards cannot impede traffic. 61, all lighting fixtures shall be cut off fixtures to prevent light from spreading to adjacent properties. Light pole fixtures shall be no higher than 16 feet, including the light base. 62, lighting at the canopy shall be shielded to prevent light spill to abutting properties. Canopy lights shall be dimmed after 9 p.m. and be programmable to on, off, and intensity when fueling is not open. All parking lot lights shall be cut off fixtures to prevent light spill to abutting properties. 63, a separate sign permit shall be required from the building department for any freestanding signs unless otherwise exempted under zoning bylaws. Signs shall be fully located on the applicant's property and shall not block sight lines for traffic entry/egress from the site. Review by the design review committee is required for the final sign designs prior to obtaining a building permit. Signs shall not be internally lit. Architectural design. 64, the building shall be constructed in accordance with the architectural elevations and plans submitted for the project. The quality of materials and construction and color shall not substantially deviate from those shown on the elevations and discussed during public hearing without the review and approval of the planning board. 65, the final building plans stamped by a registered architect shall be provided to the planning department prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference for review for consistency with the elevations and renderings described in condition 1. If the plans appear inconsistent, approval by the planning board will be required. 66, the roof gutter system and downspouts shall be sized for the 100-year storm for the front side of the building. Data must be supplied to the planning board and building department as part of the building permit package. 67, a certification shall be provided by the architect prior to a certificate of occupancy that the building as constructed is in substantial compliance with the approved plans. Required prior to scheduling and the pre-construction conference. 68, a statement that the driveway, parking areas, walkways, patio, drainage system, sewer, landscaping, and other common areas shall be owned by the applicant and shall be maintained by the applicant and should not be the responsibility of the town to maintain. The driveway, walkways, patio, drainage system, landscaping, lighting, stormwater infiltration system, and other common areas shall be inspected and maintained and repaired by the applicant. This shall also be stated in a note added to the plans prior to endorsement. 69, a requirement that 1, maintenance of the drainage system, parking driveways, walkways, and landscaping shall be in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan approved by the planning board's consulting engineer. 2, provisions for snow removal and maintenance of safe conditions through winter of all vehicle and pedestrian ways has been provided. 3, a description of the required annual maintenance of the driveway, parking areas, walkways, landscaping, lighting, and other common amenities. 70, the final operation and maintenance plan shall be provided to the planning board prior to endorsement as a standalone document with appropriate manufacturer's specifications and shop drawings. 71, prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, the applicant shall provide to the planning board A, copies of the recorded special permit and plans. B, a check to cover cost of inspections by the town's consulting engineer. These shall include, at minimum, inspections of subdivision rules and regulations, section 9.0, for the driveway, parking areas, walks, patios, stormwater management system, water system, municipal sewage connection, and sanitary sewage line, new curbing and erosion and dust control measures, as well as any specific requirements contained herein which may require review and or inspections by the town. The specific amount shall be provided by the planning department based on the consulting engineer's estimate. Shall be subjected to amendment from time to time and shall be supplemented by the applicant as requested by the planning department. C, a construction schedule including approximate dates for installation of erosion control and other site protection / stabilization, construction of the building, and all applicable items in subdivision rules and regulations, section 9.0. D, copies of the NPDES NEPDES permit, including the stormwater pollution prevention SWIP. The SWIP must be submitted to the planning board and approved prior to any land disturbance. E, type of an amount of security provided by the applicant reasonably satisfactory to the planning board to cover satisfactory completion of off-site infrastructure improvements on any town property, including the driftway. A separate surety is required for this work. The amount shall be based on the applicant's contractor's estimates of the costs of these items, reviewed by the town's consulting engineer, and shall be approved by the planning board prior to the pre-construction conference. And F, a type and amount of security provided by the applicant reasonably satisfactory to the planning board to cover satisfactory completion of features shown on the site plan, including landscaping, parking, drainage, signs, lighting, and conditions imposed by the board. The amount shall be based on the applicant's contractor's estimate of costs of these items, reviewed by the town's consulting engineer, and shall be approved by the planning board prior to the pre-construction conference. Required prior to the start of construction. 72, within 2 calendar weeks prior to the applicant's notification to the town planner that it intends to commence any work on the project site, a pre-construction conference shall be held with the applicant, their representatives, their engineer, the site contractors, the town planner, the town engineer, and other DPW representatives as necessary, the police department, the planning board's consulting engineer, and other representatives of the town as the board feels are necessary. A list of all contractor contacts, including names and telephone numbers, shall be provided to the planning board, DPW, and police department. At least one telephone contact shall be available 24 hours per day in the event of an emergency. 73, the property lines of the property shall be marked or flagged in the field under the direction of a surveyor, and notification given to the town planner and consulting engineer a minimum of 3 business days prior to the start of construction. The property line shall always be staked or pinned during construction. 74, a stabilized construction entrance and silt sock fence must be installed prior to any earth disturbing activities on site, including but not limited to clearing and grubbing. Construction fencing shall be required as necessary to comply with federal, state, and local laws. Required during construction. 75, construction work shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturday, and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or dusk, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sundays or legal state or federal holidays. 76, inspections and observations made according to the SWIP shall be submitted to the planning board within 48 hours after the inspections or weekly. The board reserves the right to require the consulting engineer to visit the site weekly or as often as necessary during construction and report on matters within the scope of the planning board's authority. 77, all earth moving and disturbance operations shall only occur while erosion and sedimentation control measures are in place and approved by the town planner or the town's consulting engineer. Such control measures shall remain in place until the board's consulting engineer determines, after consultation with the town planner, that the danger of erosion or sedimentation no longer exists. It is always the applicant's affirmative responsibility to ensure the maintenance and management of all stormwater control measures during construction to ensure there are no increases in stormwater flow, velocity, or volume to abutting properties at any time. 78, construction activities on the site shall conform to the town of Scituate general bylaws. 79, no parking or unloading on new driftway shall be permitted during construction unless approved in advance and controlled at the same time by Scituate Police Department. Construction vehicles shall use the designated construction access. 80, the applicant shall notify the Scituate Police Department 48 hours in advance of any significant equipment and construction material arrival to the site which may cause a safety hazard or material disruption of the public way, such as a police detail is necessary to ensure safe passage. Any police detail required is at the expense of the applicant and is required when the police department determines it is necessary. 81, the applicant shall not allow any large construction equipment or trucks to stage or idle on public roads and shall not allow such equipment or trucks to idle on site prior to 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. on Saturdays. Police details may be required for construction, access, or work within the layout of the new driftway. 82, the applicant shall provide the town with the routes construction traffic will use so that if a safety hazard or material disruption of the public way impedes safe passage, a police detail would be obtained by the applicant at its expense. Construction activities shall be conducted in a workmanlike manner at all times. Blowing dust or debris shall be controlled by the applicant through stabilization, wetting down, or other proper storage and disposal methods. 84, no use of hydrants on site or adjacent roads off-site is allowed for construction use. A hydrant may be available at the water treatment plant for construction use during non-water ban times. To reduce noise levels, the applicant shall keep all equipment that emanates sounds from the structures or site in proper working order through regular maintenance. 86, blasting, if necessary, shall be conducted in accordance to all necessary permits and meet all the requirements of the Scituate Fire Department. Required prior to issuance of occupancy permits. 87, no certificate of occupancy shall be issued until the planning board and building commissioner are satisfied that the gas storage and dispensing systems, driveway parking areas, walkways and patio, and installation of necessary utilities is in full compliance with the approved plans and the special permit. 88, prior to application for a certificate of occupancy, a copy of the contract for inspections and maintenance of the stormwater system per operation and maintenance plan shall be provided to the planning office. A revised standalone operation and maintenance plan should be provided prior to endorsement. 89, the off-site restriping of new driftway shall be completed prior to any certificate of occupancy being issued. Administration. 90, all time periods referenced in this document for completion of conditions shall be told in case any appeals are taken. 91, the special permit shall run with the land and shall be voided if it is not recorded at the registry of deeds with 120 days of expiration of the appeal period or such extension of that time granted by the planning board following approval of the special permit. The applicant shall provide proof that the special permit was recorded to the planning board. 92, the planning board may, in its discretion, waive or modify conditions of the special permit at a duly called meeting of the board if the board determines that such waiver or modification is insignificant and does not materially adversely affect the purpose of the special permit decision. 93, this special permit shall lapse within 2 years from the date of its issuance unless substantial use or construction has commenced prior to that time in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9. 94, all site plan sheets of the site plan review and VCN special permit shall be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. All construction work shall be done in accordance with the plans.
It,
That's
Wow.
it. Oh my goodness.
well,
That's it.
Well, you can do the vote for this and then we'll close the hearing once you've decided
All right.
what you're doing here.
All right, is there, I have made the motion. Is there a second for discussion?
second,
Okay, further discussion.
Yeah, there's a few items. I'll just start at the top. Under, let's see. Just an editorial change on number 11, the second to last bullet point. I think that should say 25-foot contour.
hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
And then number 14, I think it's just wording there, the last sentence. It seemed a little, got muddied a little bit. I think it should say, all irrigation systems installed must, comma, in accordance with the policy, be supplied by on-site sources.
I'll recheck the wording on the memo that's hanging on the wall here.
Yeah. Stop me if you if anybody has any others. I'm just paging through.
Anybody else while he's
Well,
zooming?
if you're gonna editorialize, can everything be 2020 and not 20? We go, sometimes we say 8/15/20, sometimes it says 8/15/2020.
I'll fix it.
Thank you.
Number 20, the last bullet point with the water department.
Uh-huh.
I just have to make that consistent with the December 18th memo. So I'll just mirror the memo that they have to comply. They have to tie the 2 new water services to the new larger diameter water main across the street. That which they're already showing that on the plan, but I'll put that language in here.
Okay, so it's not an alternative at this point.
No, I mean, they've determined that it has to be the new larger pipe on the excuse me, opposite side of the street.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Hold on a second.
I know while you're paging.
Number 25. We have two places where we say the applicant is encouraged.
That's because that's what the design is acceptable as is, but that's what our consulting engineer wrote in his final report. So I just copied the language.
Is this Mr. Chessia's comment?
No, this is Mr. Dirk.
Mr. Dirk, okay.
The
So-
project works as is right now, but they're asking them to look at to reduce the width of the flush island to 4 feet.
Okay. Should we then ask the applicant to, once they look at this, to report back to us then?
It would change if it's going to be changed. It should change prior to the plans for endorsement.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying just an affirmative feedback that they looked at it and said,
Okay, all right.
well, we got to stay with 6 instead of 4, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll add a sentence in here.
Okay.
I believe we can comment on that tonight if you want.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, please.
Sure.
I believe the 4 is fine. There was one other thing though, that they were asking to extend the landscape buffer.
Yeah.
And I think, Hal, you said that was not feasible because
If I may, yes, I think the island, we can go to 4 feet. I don't think it makes a difference, 4 feet or 6 feet, because it's a flushed concrete rumble strip. So in my opinion, I don't think it makes a difference, but we can go to 4. On the other end, we cannot extend the island because otherwise we will not be able to accommodate a large vehicle or emergency vehicle to exit the site on the west. So in case of a fire truck cannot make it, or a bus cannot make it through there. So I already sent a plan to I believe to Mr. Dirk or at that time, and I did demonstrate that this cannot be done. So that's not going to be done.
Yes,
So
and he acknowledges that, but he wrote it in his report. We condition what's in his report.
Okay.
So why don't we say in the first sentence, the applicant shall reduce the width to 4 feet, since they say it's feasible.
Yes,
That-
we can.
That way we can take any guesswork out of that. And so, Karen, are you saying that we should leave the encourage on the landscape buffer the way it is and circle back with Jack on this one at a later date?
I think we should leave it in there, and they're going to report back to you that they've looked at it and it's not feasible. I will then double check with Jeff Dirk and tell him that yes, it's not, they have looked at it, and he acknowledges that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think I had one or two others. Hold on a second. Number 41. This might be just, I don't understand the statement, but it says the underground fuel storage tank shall be permitted by the Board of Selectmen. Is it their role to permit underground storage tanks?
Yes.
Okay. So this really is saying, it feels like I'm directing the Board of Selectmen to do something. And it probably should say, the underground fuel storage tanks, the applicant shall obtain a permit from the Board of Selectmen, right? Or something like that.
Okay. I'm gonna change it to select board too.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Number 52, and maybe this is Mr. Chessie if he's still on. It says a larger oil grit separator shall be installed. Do we know what size we're talking about?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, in my letter, basically, the first compartment has to maintain a certain volume based on the DEP handbook, and I think that's what's got to be done. I mean, we don't have to say the gallonage, we just have to say, if you want to add something in there, it says in accordance with the DEP handbook. So I think that's what,
Oh, okay. So you don't know exactly what that size is. You're just saying they have to follow this standard to size it.
I don't off the top of my head. I did, when I
Okay.
did the review, I did a calculation, but and I
Okay.
found it was too small. So that's why I put that in.
So do you want to see it once it's resized?
Yeah, but that's a pretty minor thing to check.
Yeah. Okay. And then number 66. First sentence says the roof gutter system and downspouts shall be sized for the 100-year storm. It says for the front side of the building. Aren't they all sized for the 100-year storm?
The reason for that is if the front side doesn't take it, the water will flow into New Driftway. If the rear doesn't take it and it overflows, it goes into a catch basin or ponds in the parking lot and still goes into the underground system. So as
Oh,
long
okay.
as it gets where it needs to go, it's fine. But in the front, it won't go where they claim if the system's
Got it.
not sized properly.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's all the changes I had.
Okay. Thank you. Any other board member have any comments? All right, Sherry, the public.
Public, are you want to do public comment?
Sure, we'll have entertain public comments.
Well, we have a motion on the table, don't we?
A motion with a second for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you'd like to if any of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand in the lower right side of your screen if you're on by video, and if you're on by the telephone, hit *9 to raise your hand. So we will go into public comment at this time. Mr. Enberg, you're okay to comment?
Yes, thank you.
Please identify yourself with your name and address.
Thank you. Ken Ingber, 60 New Driftway, Unit 5. You may recall that in August, I sent a fairly extensive letter of comments that was subscribed to by virtually every one of the 26 units at Riverway. I just wanted to report back to a couple of things. I had some lovely discussions with Mr. Cutler, with Mr. Sullivan, and Hal Chuba as well. They were communicative, helpful. In the end, I was unable to determine the one thing that I was asking for, which was whether there's going to be a direct line of sight from a light over the canopy to the public pathway between Riverway and the marsh. It's a simple thing to do, and frankly, they've said that they think that it's already accommodated. If it is, great, we're done. If not, it's simple enough to put an apron a little bit lower to block that, but it was something that did not seem to be specifically addressed in the special conditions. And let me say that I'm not a fan of having second look conditions on a special permit, but this would be inexpensive. It would not interfere with the operation or profitability of the site. So I would say that was something near and dear to my heart. I think and it was something, it went very quickly, but it went It looks like it was sort of covered by special permit condition 62, but it wasn't 100% clear to me that that was clear. And I say that because light spillage, I assume that there'll be zero spillage off the site. That's typical, but that's not the same thing as just an annoying line of sight to the light bulb itself. Again, the small thing to fix if it turns out to be a problem. I just want to put a pin in that for you as part of the compliance. I noted that there'll be no sound from the operation at the pumps, so that takes care of another issue that I had raised. I also had raised the issue of headlights. I know that the condition is quite clear that there has to be dense evergreen vegetation and some fencing. I have no ability to know whether that's going to be an issue, whether it's an issue on the ground, whether it's an issue from the second or third floor of any of my neighbors. I don't think it will be, but again, it's something that I was unable to verify. So it's clearly the intent to keep headlights substantially blocked. If it's not, that also should have a second look. And once again, if that's a problem, it really should be very inexpensive to fix and no interruption in their operation. The last item I had noted in my letter, there are going to be picnic tables. I think that's lovely. I think it'd be nice to have people sitting outside. I am concerned about trash being blown. It's an extreme, from my own experience, very difficult to control, but and also difficult to identify unless there's some specific logo to the paper that might be, or plastic that might be blown from the site off onto New Driftway, onto the adjacent site, eventually onto my side of Riverway. Hard to monitor, but you'll know it when you see it. It's the sort of thing that can be overlooked, and I'd like a pin in that as well for ordinary maintenance. All that said, I appreciate the cooperation that I got from the applicant and his team, and I wish them the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else?
I don't see any more comments, so
Okay.
we'll end the public comment session.
Okay, fine. And we'll go to a vote.
Yes, did we do the second as amended?
Second as amended. Is there a second for as amended?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
Ms. Burbine,
Yes.
Ms. Lampert,
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein,
Yes.
Mr. Pritchard,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
unanimous, all in favor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And let's
Okay.
just, the last little piece is we need to close the public hearing.
All right, move to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Burbine,
Yes.
Ms. Lampert,
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein,
Yes.
Mr. Pritchard,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you, unanimous, all in favor.
I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody's hard work and assistance with this. It was, it was a fun and long and interesting process. It really
Fun?
Fun? How could
I
it?
had fun. It was a challenge.
It is, but you got it. We got it done. All of
You
us.
got it done, and I really, you guys did great work, and I really appreciate everything you did.
And you know who?
Madam Chair,
Kudos go to Karen for having put all of this.
Absolutely, no question.
Thank
and
you.
Madam
Oh,
Chair, we'd
thank
like to
you.
acknowledge the burden that you shouldered tonight on reading. That went above and beyond the pale of volunteership, and it's
Hey.
I
very
don't know if you had enough water there.
Oh yeah, I do.
Was that actually water?
Yes, dear. It's dry January, remember?
I just wanted to say that according to the last continuance, we have until February 26th to get the decision filed with the town clerk. We will try our best to get it done a lot sooner than that. And so planning board members, when Shari contacts you to sign the decision,
We'll be there.
Pay attention.
okay, yeah, pay attention.
Pay
Thank
attention.
you. Thank you.
All right,
Good.
gentlemen.
Thank
Good
you all.
night.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
I,
Okay, our next order of business is 60 Country Way, mixed-use special permit request for an extension. Assessor's map, block, lot 43, applicant owner, Charles Fagan. Is he with us this evening?
If he is, he will need to raise his hand. Charles, I
Okay.
see, it's probably Charles' iPad. Here we go. Hold on.
Yes. Is he there?
He is. Yes. Just one moment. Charles?
Mr. Fagan, are you with us?
Parrish,
Check.
Somebody's got a hand up. The number ends in 06. Can somebody see that?
There we go. That should be them. Whoever is 06. If your number ends in 065, you do have the ability to do that. And it looks like Charles, that may be Charles calling in because he is dialing on his phone as we can see.
I can't hear you.
Charles, we do see you. We just do not hear you.
You have your
So,
unmute yourself. I don't think he knows how to unmute himself.
Charles, if you're on your iPad, if you don't know how to unmute yourself, or I'm not sure what he's doing. Charles, we can figure this out. Don't worry.
Where did he go?
He disappeared.
Charles, if you look at the agenda, there is a phone number you can call in on. So try that. If your number ends in that 065, we'll see you. So look at the agenda.
We can see him. We just can't hear him.
Correct.
Okay, what do we want to do?
Well, I don't know that we want to
Well,
move on.
We have
Do you
the.
want- Do you want to do the minutes and the
Yeah, and see-
counting while
Yes.
we're waiting for Chick to connect?
All right.
one
Seth,
second, Sherry, hold on.
Okay.
I don't know where that went. Unfortunately, I don't have that anymore either. When my power went out, I lost everything.
Okay.
What are you looking for? His phone number?
No, I'm looking for the minutes.
Oh, I've got him.
Okay, I lost everything.
Okay. All right, I move to approve the meeting minutes for January 14th, 2021.
Second,
Ms. Burbine,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
yes,
Mr. Bornstein,
yes,
Mr. Pritchard,
Yes,
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you, unanimous, all in favor.
Okay, I move to approve the requisition of $100 to the Scituate Food Pantry for a refund for the site plan waiver application of 141.0 and for 14104 to J&R
Hello?
Graphics.
Chick, hold on just 1 second.
And
Sorry about that.
all right,
That's okay.
141.04 for J&R Graphics for office supplies.
second,
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
yes,
Mr. Bornstein,
yes,
Mr. Pritchard,
yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you, unanimous, all in favor.
Okay. All right, Chick, you're on.
Okay.
Okay,
Hey.
thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay, you are here for a request for an extension of time on your mixed-use special permit.
Correct.
Okay, would you like to give us a little background, please?
Yeah, well, I got the special permit and it was approved April 16th, 2019. And we're ready ready to go ahead with it. And some personal things came up, but other than that, it was very busy with the economy and building. It was crazy. So I was going to wait till the spring of 2020. And as we all know that the COVID came along and everything kind of shut down as far as manufacturing, and it was hard to get lumber and stock and everything like that. So nobody knew what was going on. So that was I put it on hold. And from what I understand, by April 16th of 2021, I have to get going, have it done or whatever. And I'm just asking for an extension so I can continue this summer. And I'd like to get going on it. And as you know, that's past April 16th.
Okay.
And I just need some direction.
Okay. Comments from Karen first.
So you did previously just grant an extension to Mr. Berwick for his special permit. You granted a 1-year extension to him. So I formatted the motion here for 1 year or 2 years, depending on what the board sees fit. But it seems like there's a valid reason for the extension, because COVID has made it a little difficult for several people to start their projects, and I would recommend granting the extension.
Any comments from the board?
No, I'm happy to grant an extension for that.
Okay.
That's in here. Same here. I think that's consistent with what we did with the previous request, and COVID. COVID has certainly thrown a monkey wrench into everything, and we're
It
still
sure has.
a ways away from, full vaccination too.
That's another issue. Okay, I would like to see this extended until January 14th of 2023 to make sure that Mr. Fagan can get whatever he needs done. And that's part of the motion. Okay? So I'll read this. I move to accept the request by Charles R. Fagan to extend the special permit for mixed-use development in the Village Business Overlay District for 60 Country Way for 2 years until January 14th, 2023, in accordance with the letter submitted by Mr. Fagan dated January 9th, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine,
Aye.
Ms. Lambert,
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein,
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard,
Aye.
Ms. Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you, unanimous.
Wait a
All in
minute, wait a
favor?
minute. Can I just make one? I made a mistake here. It should be January 28th, 2023.
Right.
We had thought that it was going to go on the last agenda. It didn't, so it should be January 28th, because that's today's date.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine.
Aye.
Ms. Lambert,
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein,
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard,
Aye.
Ms. Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you, unanimous. All in favor?
All right, you're all set, Mr. Fagan.
I appreciate that because I really think it's going to be a great asset to Greenbush. So
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. All
Thank
right. Now we have zoning public workshop signed bylaw.
All right, so the planning board was all ready to do the sign bylaw last year. You went through the public hearings, and then COVID happened and the signs were delayed at the town meeting. So here we are again. We've made a few minor comments from town council, incorporated them into the bylaw, and the bylaw is it's a whole new sign bylaw which defines signs and provides for prohibited, exempt, and temporary signs and provisions for them in the zoning district. We really have to pass a sign bylaw because our current bylaw is illegal.
Right. Okay. I mean, one of the things that I will say about this proposed bylaw is the fact that a consultant was hired and went through this bylaw, and it has also been vetted through town council. So, it is what it is. So I would recommend that we endorse it. I'll open it up to the board. Comments?
Karen, so I know, was it last week or the week before you had to present to advisory committee? Was this one that you discussed at that meeting?
I was called in to do the budget, but they decided they were going to grill me on zoning at the time. We did discuss the sign bylaw and very limited manner. I, just told them what it was doing. We did not just get discussion in any detail on the sign bylaw.
Mhm.
Yes, one person had a question about why he couldn't have a sign in front of his stone wall. And I believe it's because signs are supposed to be on private property, and signs are supposed to be 10 feet off the road, and different roads in town have different rights of way widths, but generally a lot of them are around 10 feet. And so I did supply that answer back to the advisory board, and I haven't gotten their list of questions, but have informed them that the public hearing for the zoning articles is going to be on February 11th. The signs will be at 6:30, and hopefully some of them can make it then, because their advisory committee meeting doesn't start until 7 o'clock.
Okay.
This set of proposed changes is not any different than what we proposed the last time before it got delayed.
Right, except for a few minor editorials, changes that town council had suggested, and those are all incorporated in there.
Okay. Well, I say we run it up the flagpole.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, we kind of don't have a choice, right?
Nope.
It is what it is. Do we take public comment? Because this is a workshop.
Sure.
Sure, it's a workshop.
Sure, why not? Who's ever on?
So if anyone would like to make public comment, please raise your hand by the lower right-hand side of your screen. If you're on by video, and if you're on by telephone, please push *9 to raise your hand. It doesn't seem as though we have any participants raising their hands.
Okay. Then we will
Move on to the next.
move on to the next, which is, the next one is fair housing.
All right, so this fall, the board asked if but the bylaw could be amended for, quote, inclusionary zoning. The 2015 housing production plan and the 2020 housing production plan both recommend having inclusionary zoning. What this bylaw does, it changes the current bylaw so it applies to more than 5 units in all districts, with the requirement that land under common ownership for housing developments cannot be segmented to avoid the requirement. The current bylaw only applies to certain sections of the bylaw, and it is 7 or fewer units don't require affordable housing.
Mhm.
So this changes it to all housing developments and drops it down to 5. So I did provide you with a spreadsheet that the housing consultant provided me with some of the different towns around here, what they have. So 5 would be a number not out of line with what other towns have. The question I was asked at the advisory board, well, how do I know this isn't this makes a project unaffordable? I don't know that. And the board is going to have to come up with an answer, I suspect, for the public hearing and for town meeting on that.
And how do you suggest we do that? Is there a way for us to get some input on what a 5-unit, subdivision development, kind of what the cost structure would look like and what it would mean?
Excuse me for 1 second, Steve. I was under the impression that it was 6 units. Anything,
6 units
not
required,
5.
but
Not-
5 or fewer don't require.
Right. I just
Right.
wanted to get that
Okay,
squared
well,
away.
6 then.
6.
I'm just saying, there's obviously somebody had to do a math on 8, so there must be math on 6, right?
I don't have any math. I mean, I did what the board kind of wanted me to write here. And so that's what I wrote. I don't know where, this was all, I don't know how the numbers were arrived at in the existing bylaw,
Mhm.
but I'm just guessing.
Can we ask one of the planning groups if they've done such an analysis? Like the MAPC or even the the state housing department, right? How do we make an assessment there?
Well, can I ask, Karen, is the advisory board asking this board to be more amenable to developers as opposed to residents? Is that one of those existential things?
I don't think they were asking. I mean, I was just asked, how do we know that this doesn't make something unaffordable? I don't think they're asking that question, Patty.
Okay.
I mean, I think that we know based on, well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was going to say, Patty, I think the question they posed is a question about how do we know if we set the bar this low, whether, a 6-unit development is a viable project for somebody to develop, given the cost of land and perhaps the lost revenue on the affordable unit, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking, which is a legitimate question, right?
Yeah, I can see that side of it as well. I work with lots of developers and everybody will tell you that it's never enough.
Yeah, but affordable housing we need, but if we set a benchmark for affordable housing that basically any sort of standard developer couldn't meet, then while we're setting a benchmark at 6, there's, it's kind of unlikely somebody's going to propose one at 6 if they can't, economically make the entire development fly. So it seems like a reasonable question, and it also seems like a question that should probably have been answered by DHCD or any number of sort of organizations that are involved in this, right?
Well,
Ben, do you want to comment on this?
Well, I mean, I think that's, when we discuss this, we all agree, that the need for this affordable housing and that, making this standard a little bit more conservative towards inclusionary zoning and adding more affordable units is the direction we all wanted to go in. I do see, to the advisory board's point, and what Steve's getting at is that, they might want to see some sort of, we might all want to feel better with some sort of, I guess, economic analysis or some sort of math, for lack of a better term, that kind of shows the cost benefit of this and how we came to that decision. I think with what we're going off now, how we came to that decision obviously was from our consultant during the housing production plan. She provided that table of what similar communities had in terms of required percentage of affordable units, as well as the project size that would trigger inclusionary units. So I don't know, I guess we could reach out to, like you said, one of these MAPC or another agency or somebody that see if they had any of this analysis. Maybe we could ask our consultant from the housing production plan if they had anything. But I think otherwise we kind of made an informed decision based off of that. And I think, you know, just from a qualitative standpoint, anecdotally looking at what other communities have, I don't think that we're being overly burdensome to developers by kind of where we're falling in terms of this new requirement. But I don't know.
Well, I would say that the table that she gave us, they're not all similar communities to us. I mean, Duxbury's probably the most similar community to us. I find a lot of these are larger cities or towns, and not that comparable to Scituate. We do know, based on a little bit of experience, that on a 5-unit multifamily development, you know, we pressed for other things and was told it wasn't really economical.
What's Duxbury's number?
Duxbury is a minimum project size 6 units.
6 units triggers an affordable housing unit?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what you're proposing.
Yeah, I'm looking for that spreadsheet that you talked about. I just can't find it. So what about Marshfield? What is Marshfield?
I don't know. I don't have that information.
Okay.
So I tried to do some research with like other South Shore towns that are more similar to us. And what's kind of tricky is that it's kind of, unless you have a standalone bylaw, like what we have sections, 754, where it's fair housing and affordability standards, a lot of times these requirements get buried into like zoning districts and things like that. So it's great that Karen Sonnenberg, our consultant, was able to compile this into one table, but the analysis of saying what one community may or may not have, at least in my trying to do this like this week a little bit, it becomes really kind of, it becomes tough to find, because sometimes it does apply in different zoning districts. They don't all have like a blanket inclusionary zoning or affordability standard. So that maybe might be why these are cherry picked communities that we're comparing to. I'm not sure, but I just know it's not to just try to, because I tried to look up Norwell, Hingham, Cohasset, I think Marshfield, and I couldn't really find a straightforward answer of what their trigger is.
Well, it's an interest.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ann. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
It's an interesting situation. This is a workshop. All right, Steve, what did you want to say before I open it up to the public, if there is any public?
Well, I was just going to say that there's sort of, I think Ben and Karen point out that, the empirical evidence is suggesting that, for instance, a place like Duxbury has a similar thing, so that in a place that maybe is even more expensive to build houses, they're able to set a standard at 6. So that from an empirical point of view, that probably suggests that we're kind of okay in the right ballpark there. And absent any other data, I would say that's probably the best we're going to be able to do to support the 6 unit minimum. But it isn't sort of, we just pulled it, we just pulled a number out. It's, other communities have found that it's a viable standard. So it feels like at a minimum, we should be able to have, other communities support the standard that we're talking about. But it would be good if in the interim, we could find somebody who's actually maybe done some analysis like this. I just have to believe somebody's done this already.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve. All right. Let's open it up to the public, please.
Okay, for those of you out in the public, if you would like to ask a question, I see one question, one moment. Just please remember to identify yourself with your name and address.
Hi, Mark Fenton, 25 Crescent Ave. Thanks, guys, for doing this and for the opportunity. I know it's hard work to do this via Zoom, so it's much appreciated. I think this is really important. I was there back when we took the first shot at this and included the density bonus and so on. And one of the warnings we were given by the consultant at the time is that density bonuses, though good, they're only an incentive. And one of the interesting questions will be, how many units do you really get out of it? And the answer has been fairly few, right, for us, Scituate as a town. In my experience, so I do a lot of work around active transportation around the country. And what we find is, as soon as we start talking about making more walkable and bikeable communities, one of the big issues is gentrification and housing prices go up. So affordable housing, it turns out, is very closely related to a lot of the work that I do. And we are seeing more and more communities going to blanket inclusion in their zoning. In other words, not having it only in special circumstances in overlay districts and with a density bonus, as we have in Scituate, but saying, look, we're going to pick a number like 6 units or whatever, and require some inclusive element of affordability from the ground up. And I think Mr. Pritchard's point that we can look at a peer community or two and see sort of the order of magnitude is right. I would say that in my experience, the development community will always tell you that it can't pencil out, right? Because by definition, a required inclusion of affordable units will potentially cut into their profit. Although there's some evidence that what in fact happens is they distribute some of the cost on the other market rate units in the same development. So it's shared. It's not as if the developer only takes the burden of this. So I would suggest that it's well-established practice. I will tell you that I use the University of Illinois at Chicago's, I think it's the Voorhees Institute, and I'm happy to work with Mr. Bornstein, whoever's working on this one, to find some of the resources on what seem to be best practices here, because that's one of the resources I turn to for best practice. And I'd be happy to help the board if you feel like you need to build some portfolio of answers. But the bottom line is, this is really important to do. Scituate is in dire need. I would always expect the development community, almost just by position, to have to take opposition to it. But in general, we're seeing communities realizing you have to do this if you want to make any progress on your affordable housing stock, that leaving it in voluntary or incentive-based programs only is simply not enough. It just won't do. So I'd strongly urge the board to move forward with this. I think this is a reasonable figure. And I'd be happy to help look at some of the research in this area to help validate that. But know this, by the way, in the end, the experts will tell you every community is different. It has to do with land value and what your zoning is. Are you at 4 units per acre or 2 or 1? Needless to say, those all complicate, or multi-unit buildings, right? So understand that it's not by any means simple blanket answers to the does it pencil out question. That's a much too simplistic question to ask.
True. How very true. Okay. Is there anyone else that would care to comment from the public, please? And Mark, thank you so much for your input. Well appreciated.
If there's anyone else from the public that would like to make a comment or a question, please raise your hand at this time. Otherwise, we're going to end the public discussion. Let's see any more comments.
Okay, then we're done.
All right, so the public hearing again will be on February 11th at 6:45. So hopefully we'll have people attend the public hearing and support it, or provide comments for town meeting in April.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've done minutes and we've done accounting. Anything for liaison reports? Anyone out there?
Oh, Mr. Fenton has a question again.
Yes, Mr. Fenton.
My apologies. Could you just clarify, the public hearing is continued to that February date for
No,
continued?
the public
No.
hearing is that date. This is just a workshop
Oh,
to
this is
try
your
to,
workshop.
to
Thank
try
you.
to get some feedback. So the board, and then the public hearing, it was in today's Mariner.
Got it.
The stuff
Got it.
is on, the stuff is on the website and available at town hall. So the information is out there.
Excellent. Thanks for
If you
clarifying.
have any questions, give us a call.
Before we let Mark go, if he's offering to help, I would be interested if you could research that particular, if there's some, written study or whatever around this topic of, the cost of affordable housing to developers. It'd be good to know. And I'm kind of wading through the web while we talk right now. And it looks like there's some information out there, but if you have a particular source that you think could deliver something like that, I would appreciate, any information you could dig up.
I'll put my library cap back on and do some research. I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy to also sort of at least pull from the resources that I know. They probably won't be so much about specific, calculations but rather sort of where the evidence is on best practice and how it influences sort of your development of market rate and inclusionary stuff, which I think would be a relevant answer too.
Yeah,
if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your diligence, and I'll make a point of being at the public hearing, of course.
We'll look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Okay. All right. Do we have any liaison reports?
Well, I listened to zoning and they're gonna put some pools on First and Second Cliff.
Some
and
what?
A pool, some swimming pools. And they're gonna raise the houses and mileage all into flood level plains. They're talking all about raising houses everywhere. So up to FEMA code.
Who's talking about doing that?
83R Glades Road, which I think is now Putnam.
You mean individual homeowners are talking about raising them?
They're going to the zoning board to look for variances to raise their
It's
house.
Oak Construction that's doing that.
Yep.
So they're looking for a variance on the height?
It's a raise and reconstruct, Steve.
It's a reconstruction.
Yeah, I thought they were going for section 6.
They
You're
are.
right.
Mhm. Yep.
At the
That's
lot-
adjacent to the one that you guys permitted a year and a half ago, the 87, the multifamily,
Yeah.
the existing, that was a pre-existing non-conforming multifamily down there.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the back of that.
I mean, there were 4 items on the last CBA that of the 6, 4 were raise and reconstruct. One was in Hummerock. One was up in Minot. One was on, I think, Oceanside.
Oceanside.
Yep. And it's just fascinating.
Yep.
Fascinating. Bigger and better.
We have started to gather some data based on some of the information you sent last time, Steve, from Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
That was excellent, Steve.
And that
Yeah,
I
sure.
think can relate. I think it can relate to rat tails and FAR lot coverage, but we're starting to put together some data related to some plans that we have, and we're just getting hard facts at the moment. Like what's the perimeter, what's the area of lot, before we go in to start doing any calculations. I've also talked with a consultant, and hopefully we're going to talk next week about, she has done some, same consultant we use for the sign bylaw. She has done some lot shape factor bylaws. I don't know where, but I think that we're trying to put together information for the for lot shape and FAR and lot coverage all at the same time, using some of the same data. But we're just in the investigation, just trying to get some tables so that we can then try to figure out where we go from there.
Yeah. And Karen, will you be able to identify, a few dozen of these cases that have already happened in Scituate? I mean,
That's what we're using to try to get the perimeter and the lot area right now, just in a table. We're trying to get the most egregious ones that we have, that we can all remember, and get that raw data, because anybody's going to want to see that raw data.
yeah, I think that's the thing that really demonstrates the value of it, right? So that's great. I think that's good work.
So we're starting that.
Okay, excellent.
Do you need help? Do you need consulting help?
Well, we're going to have to hire a consultant to write the bylaw, I think, but any consultant is going to want to see what we think our problems are.
Yeah.
And I mean, 2.07 rat tail strips are a problem. Sewer strips are a problem.
Yeah.
So we have to we're just trying to get that data right now.
Yeah. I guess we have to do it ourselves. It just seems like we've run across this at least a dozen times or more.
Right.
Well, if you remember, Man Hill, remember it was the common driveway? Well, they went before the zoning board of appeals, and they have come up with, and it was approved, a 2-foot strip to separate these lots. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, they still have to come back to you guys for a new Form A.
Right.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, is there anything else?
So I sent you all a revised fee schedule. Is everybody okay with that fee schedule?
Are you sure it's enough?
I don't know that it's enough, but it seems consistent with some of the other towns around here. I mean, I think it's a good place to start, and I think we just advertise for a public hearing for the last, what is it, the February 20-something meeting.
Fine, do it.
Okay.
I'm pretty good with it. The only one that I thought maybe might be a little bit much was for under special permits, it's $750. And I'm guessing that's going to include accessory dwelling special permits.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that seemed like somewhat burdensome for people that are trying to create an accessory dwelling for an aging family member or something of that sort. So I don't know. There's just that was the only one that stood out to me.
Well, except that accessory dwellings are a lot of work. And so theoretically, the fee is to charge for the time it takes to do the permit.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of work on an accessory dwelling.
I mean, if that's the case, if it's a fee for service, then I defer to you because you know what the workload is better than me. So that's all.
Okay.
Well, do we want to exclude accessory dwellings and keep that at 500? I mean, that fee has not been raised since 2003.
What did you raise it to, Karen?
$750.
I don't think that's onerous. That's just my thought.
Either.
Yeah, I think, if you've done the research and the workload, as Ben said, I think, I'll go with your recommendations on this.
Yep. I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
All right. So then the only other thing that I was going to report to you, I mean, we're still very busy in the office. Most of you probably know by now that there was an incident at Seaside at Scituate on January 16th, where we kind of had a lot of silty water going off site. They were fined the standard $300. So far this year, they've had two violations. Last year, they had 15 violations. And the year before they had 2 violations. So we're trying our best to get them to follow their permits and good on-site erosion control.
But
And
I,
is it two already in January is what you're saying?
Yeah, because they also worked on the holiday.
Yeah. So that's going to be, that pencils out to 30 this year. Or 24 anyway.
Well, so I mean, we can find them at this point in the project where $300 a pop, and that's what they get. They don't fight me on the fines anymore because I provide pictures.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty hard to,
So Karen, what is the, in this last incident, what caused this problem?
not following their SWIP permit.
Okay, so it's not like they had everything in place and they had,
No.
something, they had
No.
a failure of something.
No, they were not following their SWIP permit. It was based on the east side of Hatherley Road. They had a lot of land disturbance and
Yep.
they had improper controls.
Voted away.
it was a mess. But the other thing that we have to think about, well, as an aside too, Curtis Estates was fined twice for working when they shouldn't have been. They worked on New Year's Day and they worked a Sunday,
They worked on the holiday too.
a holiday. Yep.
Yep.
So,
But those fines aren't really a deterrent though.
well, but here's the
Right.
thing, and this is something that we need to think about. We need to up the fines so that if it's a second offense of the same thing, it should be more than just another $300.
Sure, a recurring, yeah. Additional.
So if it's a
Go back to town meeting for that, right?
It's a general bylaw
It's a
change.
general bylaw, and I have to verify with town council that we can do that. I read a section in chapter 40A that made me just want to question that. So I'm going to check with town council, but it would be a change to the general bylaws.
Yeah. The other tool you have in the tool bag, I think, is that at some point you could have them stop work.
Right, shut them down.
Right.
You stop work, say there's a general review. We're going to take, a full week. I need ABC from you. You have to come and present it before we'll allow you to continue to work, right? Because $300 is obviously not a deterrent for them.
Not to them at all. Not at all. Okay, is there anything else that we need to? Yeah. Ben.
Sorry, I don't know if you're still on, Karen, or.
No,
you can go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna do a liaison report for the master plan. So I sent an email like either the beginning of this week or over the weekend that we kind of received a low response rate in terms of comment submissions and also getting back just generally about our meetings and whatnot. So we extended the deadline till February 1st, which is Monday. So if everyone wants to submit any comments, that's encouraged to review the draft master plan and send in the comments to either me, Karen, or Emily directly. And our proposed meeting date to review all that would be on February 10th. So if everyone gets a chance to just either respond to the email or send in comments if you have them, that would be great. And I mean, we talked about this at the last meeting, but at the rate we're going, I'm not so sure we're going to be ready for town meeting at all this spring. So, but keep in mind, we're still on a tight timeline because our contract expires in June. So we want to basically keep the same timeline in terms of finalizing this document. But just that it'll then fall to the hands of the planning board to get, ready for whenever we want to bring it for approval at town meeting, because our consultant at that point will be gone. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I owe it to you. Just haven't got to it yet. So I'll do it this weekend. I'll look at it.
All right. Is there anything else from anybody? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Irvine,
Yes.
Ms. Lampert,
Yes,
Mr. Bornstein,
I,
Mr. Pritchard,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yep.
Thank you, unanimous, all in favor. I have one question, Bob. Just so you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
Kathy Gardner's been trying to get a hold of you about
Yeah, I
pulling
have
papers.
to, yeah, I have to get back in touch with her, but
Okay.
I'm meaning to.
Just didn't know what your thoughts were, if you were planning to pull papers or not. So just putting it out there.
Thank you.
Are you going to pull papers? Let's cut to the chase.
Yeah, does that mean seek signatures for nomination?
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
She wanted to give you enough time because she knows that it's going to be difficult to get every signatures because of COVID. So
Someone was saying that, and they were looking at, the state has said, they don't know if it's true or not, that because of the pandemic, you only really need to get half of the necessary signatures.
oh, I don't know. You'd have to talk with Kathy Gardner about that.
What?
something like that did happen, Ann, because it was an executive order by the governor and with the Secretary of State, because that happened to me because I was up for re-election in May and I couldn't get the signatures. So I had to go as a write-in. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yes, we
and
do.
then basically like pretty much like during that whole process, then all of a sudden they said, oh, actually next time we're going to reduce the number because it became a bigger issue for the more high profile elections where you have to get 10,000 signatures or 1,000 signatures, something like that. So they actually did change the rule as part of the, emergency order, but I don't know where that's at now, but at that time it was still definitely something that was modified.
Well, I think it's something worth looking into.
We'll ask her tomorrow.
Okay.
Is that the only seat up this time around?
no, my seat is up as well.
Oh, okay.
But she's coming back.
Okay.
Working on it. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
We
adjourned.
We adjourned. All right,
Yeah.
people. Take good care.